What's up guys, Judo Sloth here, and today we're bringing you a strategy guide for the GoVaHo attack at Town Hall 8. The GoVaHo attack consists of Golems, Valkyries and Hog Riders. Other troops will be present in your army composition in order to set up the raid, and as you become more used to the strategy, you will be able to alter army compositions in order to suit the desired base. However, as a good starting block, I would recommend 2 Golems, 3 to 4 Valkyries of your own and a clan castle of Valkyries. If you struggle to get donated Valkyries, you can always take Hog Riders and adjust your own composition accordingly, and you want to maximise on the amount of Hog Riders you take. This will likely be 10 to 14. You do want to take Wizards in order to create your funnel, Wall Breakers in order to access the initial compartments, and enough troops in order to lure and take out the clan castle. I normally take 7 Barbarians and 1 Archer. This is enough to lure and distract as my Wizards take them out. For your spells, I would take 3 heal spells if possible. That's going to make it easier to sustain your troops, but you can use 4 Earthquake spells if it provides better access through the base, and I will show you an example of that later in the video. You can see a sneak peek of the army composition that will be used in that raid just above. Spell composition is the main difference, along with clan castle hogs, but the main principles of the army composition remain the same. I don't have an example in this video, but what can also provide benefit is taking 4 earthquake spells and 2 heal spells, so forgetting poison spells altogether. The GoVaHo attack is one of the best strategies at Town Hall 8. It can take out a wide variety of base layouts, but I would always recommend scouting thoroughly in case there is a better option. So let's get into some replays and talk you through the GoVaHo attack step by step. At Town Hall 8, I would always recommend luring and taking out the enemy clan castle, so this is step 1. Normally you can do this with a single Hog Rider to lure, and then I like to use 1 Archer to anchor the troops to a corner of the map. This is going to be the area that you're going to attack from initially, because you want your leftover troops to help in the main attack. For most clan castle troops, you can drop a poison in order to slow them down, and then barbarians slowly dropped in order to distract, whilst a couple of wizards take them out. As soon as the enemy clan castle troops are about to go down, you want to begin step 2, which is deploying your golems and creating your funnel. By deploying your golems at the right time, you can lock the defences onto them and still use the wizards you had from the clan castle kill in order to help with your main attack. As part of your funnel, you may break into the initial compartments, which allows step 3, your Valkyries and your king, to rush into the base where you want them to go. You can see that because the wizards took out the outside buildings, the Valkyries were drawn straight into that compartment. Step 4 is then deploying your hogs. I would recommend surgically deploying these in across a section of the base. Now all this means is deploying approximately 3 Hog Riders in towards each defense. Now in this raid, I did that across the entire northeast side, and I've already begun step 5, which is deployment of your heal spells. Now we are going to go over this again and with a bit more depth, because I appreciate I have flown over all of that in this raid, but at least that breaks it down into a few steps that you can then follow. So in summary for this raid, I lured and took out the enemy clan castle. I then created my funnel and opened up the initial compartments where I was going to send my Valkyries. Ideally, what you're trying to do with these is take out a section of the base, and if you can, where there is a possibility for double giant bombs, that's the area you want to send your Valkyries in. Now I know to keep things simple, I said to use the heal spells as step 5, but you can also use a heal spell on the Valkyries in the core. I often do that. It's very beneficial because it helps sustain them to get out and help with the main attack. When you bring your Hog Riders in, you want the defences to be targeting your Valkyries in the middle and taking some of the damage. That way some of your Hog Riders can come in initially without being targeted. So that wraps up the 3-star for this raid. Let's move on to another example and show you it again step by step, and hopefully this time you can identify some of the finer points and kind of understand a little bit deeper about what we're doing. So you can see the clan castle radius is lureable from any of these archer towers with the Hog Riders, and then I can anchor them up towards the laboratory in order to take them out. I do have to be wary of the builder huts in the corner for this raid, so I do have a couple of extra barbarians just to bring in at each of them, and then if I bring my golems in towards each cannon on these sides, you will see that there's a couple of buildings here, the 2 army camps, the builders huts and the gold mine on the left, the elixir collector on the right. As long as I take them out with the wizards, that will create a funnel in order to send my Valkyries in towards that center wizard tower and into the base where I want them to. Because I want to send my troops in towards that wizard tower, I have to break the compartments left and right where the archer tower is before the wall breakers will target the piece of wall next to the wizard tower, so it's just about being patient on that respect. When my Valkyries come forward, they may split to the left or the right. It's a little bit unpredictable, but the base is symmetrical, so I can target my Hog Riders in towards the defences. Now I can tell you on this raid it's going to be across the left hand side here as the Valkyries run down that way, but even if they'd have ran towards the right hand side of the base and started distracting the defences there, I could have still brought my Hog Riders in from the right hand side. There's no area for double giant bombs on the back end of the base, so I can freely target my Hog Riders in to each defence. Now the reason I'm coming in from the north is because there's 2 giant bombs up in that area, so that is where you want to bring the Valkyries in to try and take them out and maximise the use of the Hog Riders. I can also take the king out in this area, and it's easier to funnel my troops. It's not very often you see a P.E.K.K.A in the clan castle, but I can take that out with the exact same method I explained earlier. And as soon as it goes down, the golems come in order to distract these 2 defences so that the wizards will not be targeted, and they come straight in order to start taking out them buildings. As soon as the defences are distracted, you want them wizards in, because you want this process to be done, although correctly, as fast as possible, and that will help to sustain a bit more health on your golems. You'll see the Valkyries came in as in step 3, coming forward, and then we did use a heal spell in order to help them through this area because a giant bomb went off as well, and step 4 comes in, deploying the Hog Riders across the entire west and southern part of this base. Now the defences on the west began to be distracted by the Valkyries, so I brought the initial Hog Riders in. But this then sets off a chain where the next defence along targets onto these Hog Riders, so you then want to bring your next set of Hog Riders in onto that defence, and so on and so forth around the base in a clockwise manner. Now if at any point this chain breaks, you can then save your Hog Riders for the next set of defences that become distracted. But in general, at Town Hall 8, with this method, you'll only be targeting 4 to 5 defences at a time, so you really want to choose a section of the base, and then it is step 5 in that of the heal spells, which really help to sustain the Hog Riders through the defences and help you to wrap up the 3 stars. Now for people wondering what I was doing with that second poison spell in that raid, that is where I feel one of the main uses of the skeleton spell lies, and it is at Town Hall 8 when you can't even unlock it. If you get it in your clan castle, because you don't have as much troop space, it can be used for cleanup behind the Hog Riders, so where I placed the poison spell is where hypothetically I would place the skeleton spell if I had one. So here's another example where I'm actually using 4 earthquake spells in order to access the base, and I'm doing that because it provides so much more benefit. I can access the core of the base straight away with the earthquake spells, and I don't have to worry about wall breakers. It also just encourages my Valkyries straight into the middle from the north of the base. So step 1, I lured and took out the enemy clan castle. Step 2, I've then brought the golems in on the right and left side, and I have wizards straight in behind in order to create the funnel. As part of that funnel, I've targeted Valkyries in towards the buildings at the north. So when you're creating your funnel, it's not just about taking out buildings that you don't want your troops to go to, it's about trying to leave buildings standing in order to attract the troops to where you want them to go. In this case, the Valkyries were drawn to the Archer Tower, then the Air Sweeper, and then into the core where the air defences were. I do have a heal spell in the core just because they're taking so much damage from all around the outside, but then the Hog Riders can come in and take out the defences. So although we didn't have heal spells for the Hog Riders in this raid, we sustained the Valkyries in the middle and we had more than enough Hog Riders to take out the defences because they were already distracted by the Valkyries. Here's a very simple example of an alteration to the army composition that could make a big difference in this raid. The very west and the very east compartments only had a cannon in them, so I could deploy a minion in that area to start taking out the buildings in order to help with time. So we'll move on to one final example, but I do hope things are starting to make sense for you. If you do have any further questions following the video, please drop me any queries in the comment section below. Alternatively, if you think there's anything I've missed or any further tips for the other viewers, please share them below as well, because everyone does attack slightly differently. Now I'm just going to let this raid play in the background, but do try and look out for the different steps, the luring and the taking out of the clan castle, using the golems and wizards in order to create the funnel, sending the Valkyries in, and then also the deployment of the Hog Riders, and I do only have the one heal spell in this raid. And that's something I want to talk about in a little bit more depth, the deployment of heal spells, just before we finish up the video. Now the heal spell on the Valkyries in the core of the base is pretty self-explanatory. You want it right across the core of the base in order to cover as much ground as possible and keep the Valkyries in heal for as long as possible as well. So ideally you would place this slightly in front of the Valkyries so that they will run forward into it. That will help to sustain them as the defences are shooting at them, and then when you're deploying your Hog Riders, that's where the deployment of heals is a little bit more variable. Now you want to hold off with the heal spells initially. The Hog Riders are at full health when you deploy them, so don't be too quick to deploy the heal. You want to try and cover as many Hog Riders as possible, and in the areas where it's a little bit more compact of defences. So as a general rule of thumb, as the Hog Riders take out the initial defences on the outside layer, when they move forward to the next set of defences, that's generally where you want to use your heal spell. You can see the example from the first raid, where the Hog Riders are taking out the defences right at the edge, and then they will move forward into the heal spell. This will bring the Hog Riders back up to full health and ensure that you're using it on as many hogs as possible. You can also look out for areas where there might be a giant bomb and pre-heal that spot. Now all that means is popping a heal spell down in that area before the Hog Riders even trigger the giant bomb. You can see an example above, because even one giant bomb will leave your hogs with just a fraction of health, so you do want to get them healed back up. So that wraps it up for this strategy guide. I really do hope it helps you guys. Make sure to comment me with the hashtag GoVaHo if you did make it right to the end of the video. Let me know if you have success with this as well. I've been your host Judo Sloth. Make sure to subscribe for more Clash of Clans, and until next time, peace out guys. Stay tuned for more Clash of Clans.